right, good afternoon. I am Saad Al-Aziz, the owner and head instructor of Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu here in San Antonio, Texas. And here to tackle this week's question of the week. And I had a question on last week's video where somebody asked what my recommendations are if you've had to take some time off from Jiu Jitsu for either personal life or injuries, and now you're coming back after, say an extended time off. And how do you get back to where you were, or really even know where to start? And that's a great question, because we all are going to deal with that in our jiu-jitsu journey. Like, for instance, in 2014, I was a brown belt, and I ended up having surgery on my right knee to repair a meniscus. And so the injury happened like in January, and then when they sewed the meniscus back and repaired the knee, it's like a 7-month recovery. And then so I wasn't able to train again and roll until like September. So from January to September in 2014, I wasn't able to train or roll. And it felt like, it really felt like a big setback, because, as a brown belt, I knew I was getting close to my black belt. And now it's like, I'm all the way back. Because of course, when I came back to roll in September, after, this 9 months off, my timing was off, like my brain wasn't operating, with the quickness in the techniques, from muscle memory that it had been, prior to the injury. And now people who I used to like just sort of handle in class were now in some cases getting the better of me. And it's like, this is so frustrating. I went from being like, sort of a top of the chain brown belt, to now I'm just like, not doing very well as a brown belt, and it's all due, to this injury and the time of recovery. And, so then same thing happened, say 2018, although I was a black belt, I had to get my left knee repaired. And then, there's a recovery time, there's time off, there's timing, and then there's stuff that your body just won't do anymore. Some of that is, now that I'm 53, like there's things that my body just won't do that it would do when I was 20 or 30, So, those can be, sad, almost depressing type setbacks, especially when you love jiu-jitsu and you're trying to get better. And although everybody in jiu-jitsu says, leave your ego at the door, it's humbling, when you're coming back off an extended time and you're rolling, and now like, you're not doing as well as you would like, or, you're not performing up to maybe your personal expectations or as well as what you had previously done. And that can all be, just, mentally grueling. And it's like, where do I start to get back to where I was, and, not only get back to where I was, but, get even better than I was before. And what I would recommend is you figure out, like, say you roll. Figure out, like, hey, jot down some notes. Like, okay, I rolled today after class, and maybe I got 3 or 4 5-minute rounds in before my cardio was like, I can't do no more. Like, hopefully, maybe previously you'd get 6 or 7 rounds in, or 8 5-minute rounds in, and then your cardio's like, okay, we're done. Where now it's like, maybe it's only 2 or 3 or 4, and your cardio's like, man, I'm done. I'm so tired. Try to make some notes of what's going on. Like, we know the cardio fix. It's like, the more you roll, the more you spar, the more you do jiu-jitsu, the better your cardio will get. So we know how to fix that. That's going to come with time. But start looking at, like, make some notes, like, okay, every time I rolled, people were just passing my guard. And, whether I was closed guard, they were just easily passing it. And maybe they used to not pass it as easily. So where do I start? Start right there with the closed guard. Maybe, 10 different things, or maybe every position is going bad for you. But that can be an overwhelming thing. And there used to be an old saying in leadership. They said, you can eat an elephant if you do it one bite at a time. You know, if you, of course, nobody can eat an elephant all in one bite, but if you just steadily eat some every day, you know, refrigerate the rest, or however you go about eating an elephant, I don't know. But, you know, eventually you will consume the whole elephant, you know, but it's not going to happen today. You know, nobody's going to eat a whole elephant today, but over time you can eat that elephant. And so jiu-jitsu is a lot like that too. Like, I remember maybe back in 2012, there was a brown belt at our school who just, every time we'd roll, like maybe we would start in closed guard, and then he'd pass it and he'd be in half guard, or maybe he'd be in side control. And then from side control, he would go to knee on belly. And then from knee on belly, like he'd be in mount. And then maybe he'd tap me in mount, or maybe he'd get my back from mount and then tap me there. And every roll went just that way, because that brown belt was better than me in closed guard. He was better than me in half guard. He was better than me at the knee on belly position. He was better than me in side control. He was better than me in mount. He was better than me at the back. And so if I try to chew all that up and fix that all, man, you'll eventually do it, but it's going to take some time. You're not going to do it today. You know, you're not going to do it this week, you know, maybe not even this month or this year, you know. But if you say, you know what, how about I get better in one area, and I focus on one area where it's going to change the role. So now when the brown belt starts in my closed guard, and then he passes my closed guard, and he gets to side control, I reset. I'm practicing side control escape so much that every time he gets to side control, I reset back into closed guard. And now that can change the dynamic, because now you might start to frustrate him and be able to get a sweep from closed guard when you reset, or, you know, get a submission, and that can change it all. He's still better than you in the closed guard. He's still better than you in mount, side control was the area we addressed in this particular one. He's still better than you in back. But if you reset him every time he gets to side control, because you focus on side control and you make that an area that it's like, I'm going to escape everybody's side control. They get me in side control, I'm going to escape it. And that's what I did. I focused on side control. And so what I would do is every roll, I would invite my training partner to start in top side control. And I've been doing that for years, no matter what school I was at. I've never met somebody who said, no, I do not want to start our roll in such a dominant position with you, Saad. They're like, oh, sure, I'll start on top side control. Now, if I was asking them, I would like to start every roll with me on top and side control. You're going to run into some reluctant people that are like, no, I don't want to start the roll there. But for them to be in a dominant position, everybody's always like, yes. Matter of fact, Saturday, because I still do that even though I'm pretty good at escaping side control. When I meet people, or in a lot of my rolls, I just start in bottom side control. I just let them pass my guard and, you know, just push my legs to the side, or I just lay down and let them start there. And I remember I did that Saturday, and, you know, we was joking because I had a visitor in here, and he was wearing a white belt because he didn't bring his belt. He was actually from Missouri. He was a purple belt. And, you know, one of my guys is like, hey, he's not your regular white belt. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm a purple belt. I just didn't bring my belt. And I'm like, that's okay. You can still start top side control. And because my mindset is, I don't care if the guy's a black belt and he starts top side control. I'm going to escape because I've worked on that area so much. But if he starts top side control, let's say Saturday, had the guy been able to tap me, then that would have been a learning point for me, because I've been like, oh, wow, my side control's not as good as I thought. And what mistakes did I make to allow him to do that? And then I can get better. But if I never put myself in this bad position, I wouldn't get better. So you say, well, why do bottom side control on the start of the roll? Vice, I'm going to end up there anyways in a roll. The advantage of starting in bottom side control, or whatever your position you want to work. Maybe you want to work, you know, they have your back. Say, oh, let's start the roll, you have my back. Or maybe it's the mount that you want to get better at. Okay, let's start the roll and you have my mount. And you have the mount, and we'll go from there. We'll bump this, and I'll try to escape. The advantage of that is if you start the roll doing it, you're fresh. So your cardio is good. You're not tired. Your mind is sort of clear, like, hey, I'm starting here in bottom side control, or I'm starting here in mount, in bottom mount, and I sort of know what I want to do, and I'm not tired. Whereas if you start focusing on it during a roll, like in your 3 minutes into the roll, and now you're getting mounted, now your cardio is going to start talking to you. Vice, your cardio is going to have a bigger effect on your jiu-jitsu decision than your brain is going to have. Because your cardio is going to be like, hey, I'm having problems breathing. I'm really tired. Let's freaking get out of here right now. And where your brain might be like, hey, put your elbow on the hip, let's bridge, let's get the knee in, we'll escape. Where your cardio is like, let's bench press this dude off me. Let's panic, let's buck, let's go crazy, let's get him out. So start the beginning of your roll in a bad position, or whatever position you're trying to work on. Start there, and steadily, just every day, keep putting every time you come in to train, keep putting yourself in this position, and find ways to excel. And so, yes, maybe your closed guard is still going to be a problem. Yes, your half guard is still going to be a problem, but maybe your side control now becomes bottom side control escapes become a strength, or your defense becomes a strength. And later on, you'll work on your mount escapes and your back escapes, but you're really good now in bottom side control. And so pick an area and work that. And that's how you'll make progress. Another thing is, don't get caught up in any false expectations where you say you're a blue belt, you're a purple belt, you're a brown belt. You think, oh, I should be this good. I should be able to do these things. There's a lot of factors that play in. Injuries play in, age plays in, the amount of time you can train plays in. So don't compare yourself to others, although it's human nature to do so. Try your best to refrain from comparing yourself to others, and work on the areas, take one bite at a time of that elephant, of trying to fix the area. Because jiu-jitsu is a lot like, eating an elephant. Because, on average, they say it takes 12 to 15 years to get your black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So you're not going to know what I know and learn it in one 1-hour class, or by coming every day for a month. It's going to take you a lot longer. So don't rush the process. Find areas that you can improve, focus on them. And the other thing is, ask people that are, like, let's say you want to get really good at side control or side control escapes. Hit people in there and be like, hey, I know this purple belt over here, Fred, he's really good at escaping bottom side control. Let me ask him for some tips. And if Fred is a good training partner, he'll tell you. He'll be like, oh, this is what I do. This is how I escape. Or this is my strategy. And pick your training partner's brains. And that will make you better. So that's this week's answer to the question. Basically, how do I get better? Just pick an area you want to work on and make that your focus. And then once you feel really good about that, then pick another area and make that your focus. I mean, you're still going to learn other techniques, every day when you come to class. But what you want to really focus on is the area. It's just one area. So try to eat the elephant one bite at a time. Not because nobody's going to be able to eat one in a whole day. All right. That's this week's question. If you got a question for next week, you can either comment below, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or when you see me in class, be like, Saad, this is my question. Can you make that the question of the week? And I will. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week. Look forward to training with you this week. Ciao.